Oh, faithfully delivering value and interpreting great books from around the world. Hi there, this is Sally talking books. Today, I'm introducing this book called Chaplin's Autobiography. It was written by the comedy master Charlie Chaplin himself when he was over 60, covering almost his entire film career. Charlie Chaplin received the Oscar Lifetime Achievement Award at 83, honored for his immeasurable contributions to 20th century film art. At that award ceremony, he got the longest standing ovation in Oscar history, with the audience applauding for a full 5 minutes. That silent applause was a tribute to this great artist and to the deeply beloved tramp character in his films. This tramp was the main character in almost all of Chaplin's silent films. He's called Charlie, with a fixed look, baggy pants, tight jacket, a little bowler hat, a small mustache, waddling walk, oversized shoes that don't fit, and holding a cane to keep his dignity. This tramp is obviously dirt poor but tries to dress like a gentleman, flirts with young ladies, and always naively chases romance, even though he's insignificant. Um, in the silent film era of the last century, the tramp could make everyone in the theater burst out laughing just with his body movements. Because the audience loved him, Chaplin, who played the tramp, became the most popular and in demand movie star back then. This is also the Chaplin that most people know best. But did you know such an internationally famous comedy star had a tragic childhood? Someone who gained both fame and fortune was expelled by the America that made him popular. A funny character who made people laugh. Every day, spent his whole life in a state of tension. So, how did his tragic childhood experiences influence Chaplin to create that unique tramp character? This is the first question we'll explore today. The second is how Chaplin became a comedy star and millionaire, and after gaining fame and fortune, why was he expelled from America? The third question is why this legendary comedy master spent his life in tension. First, let's look at Chaplin's childhood and how the tramp character was born. As we mentioned earlier, the tramp Charlotte is the classic character in Chaplin's films. That outfit of his was completely out of place from head to toe: baggy pants, tight jacket, a little bowler hat, and oversized shoes. Chaplin said he came up with this look in a flash of inspiration on his way to the dressing room. He was under 25 at the time and just starting in the film industry. Chaplin believed this character had multiple dimensions. On the surface, a tramp who picks up cigarette butts or snatches candy from children, but at heart, a true gentleman, a poet, a dreamer. This contrast between external poverty and inner hope was actually a reflection of Chaplin's own childhood experiences. In 1889, Chaplin was born in London, England, to parents who were both comedy actors in the theater. When he was one, his parents divorced, and he lived with his mother alongside his half-brother. At 5, his mother lost her job, and all three were sent to the poorhouse. While in the poorhouse, his mother developed mental illness and entered an asylum. Later, he and his brother lived with their father, but faced rejection from their stepmother. And at 8, his mother recovered and was discharged, so Chaplin finally returned to her. At 12, his father died from excessive drinking. Shortly after his death, his mother's mental illness relapsed and she was hospitalized again. From this, we see Chaplin's childhood was spent almost entirely in turmoil. Alongside turmoil came poverty. When relying on his mother, they scraped by on meager welfare and her selling earnings, often hungry, skipping meals, hiding from landlords. How poor were they? For example, when his postman brother needed clean clothes, but they had no money, his mother used their food budget to buy an outfit for him to wear on weekends. So after the weekend, they'd pawn it to recover the money, repeating this until the clothes wore out and fetched only half the amount. His mother cried desperately because that money was their entire week's living expenses. To ease financial pressure, Chaplin took all kinds of odd jobs from age 12: paperboy, print worker, toy peddler, clinic servant, you name it. They lived in a rundown top floor apartment then, with a tavern nearby where musical theater stars rested. 12-year-old Chaplin loved standing outside that tavern, watching the glamorous actors come and go. He said, when everyone left the tavern, it was like the sun hiding behind clouds, because returning to his apartment meant only seeing rickety stairs, foul air, and messy clothes. The single quote son Chaplin referred to was the respectable life of popular actors, a life he'd once experienced. Before age 5, when his mother was still employed, as mentioned earlier, both Chaplin's parents were theater comedy actors. Right after the divorce, his mother was a popular star whose salary alone could support all three of them. They lived in 3 elegantly furnished rooms then, with mother bringing home delicious food after nightly shows. On weekends, they dressed smartly for outings, drawing envious gazes wherever they went. Sadly, this didn't last. Mother developed laryngitis, her voice deteriorating until she left the troupe for low-tier theaters, with Chaplin often accompanying her. One day during her performance, her voice suddenly failed. Amid audience jeers, she was forced off stage. The stage manager, having seen Chaplin perform, suggested he replace his mother. Mid-song, the audience started tossing coins onto the stage. Chaplin stopped abruptly, saying he'd continue only after collecting the money. This caused roaring laughter, and the manager helped gather coins with a handkerchief. Thinking the manager would pocket the money, Chaplin blurted out his suspicion, making the audience laugh harder. At 5, this was Chaplin's stage debut, but his mother's final performance, planting the seed of acting in him. This highlights his mother's profound influence. After her unemployment, they sold everything except her trunk of stage costumes. During Chaplin's illness, she read the New Testament at his bedside, vividly acting out characters. She narrated Christ's compassion for the poor and children. Chaplin said, in that dim basement, his mother brought unique rays of kindness into his heart. Only under such light could theater's expression of love and humanity truly move people. From 12, Chaplin worked all odd jobs, especially after his mother's rehospitalization, bearing family responsibilities. But he never forgot his love for performing. Every weekend, he'd show up on time at the actor agency to audition for roles. Finally, he landed a role as a newsboy and began to make his mark. In his very first stage performance, Chaplin won both audience laughter and critics' praise. 7 years later, at just 19, Chaplin became a star actor in Britain's Carnot troupe. After several years with Carnot, Chaplin felt there was little room for growth left in Britain. Just then, he was chosen for a U.S. tour. His outstanding performance got him scouted by a new American film studio. In his third short film, Kid Auto Races at Venice, Chaplin first revealed the iconic look of the tramp, Charlotte. And within just a year, Chaplin became hugely famous across America. Looking back at Chaplin's childhood and the birth of the tramp character, we see an incredibly strong connection. The hardships of poverty left deep impressions, yet he'd also experienced and observed comfortable lives. Growing up on London streets, he saw all walks of life, but one constant remained: the seed of compassionate humanity his mother planted. How perfectly this aligns with the tramp Charlot's character. Dirt poor and insignificant, yet always yearning for romance and freedom. In this sense, Chaplin's creation of the tramp wasn't accidental. It was an eruption of childhood emotions. Which brings us to our second question. How did Chaplin skyrocket to stardom and become a millionaire by playing the tramp? And after gaining fame and fortune, what higher pursuits did he seek? As mentioned earlier, Chaplin began his U.S. film career after touring with Britain's Carnot troupe. The studio offered a $150 weekly, double his Carnot salary. From $150 per week to $1 million annual salary took just 4 years. Before 30, as a millionaire, he bought the priciest car, hiring chauffeur, servants, and secretary. He also bought land in Hollywood and built his own film studio. The days of food insecurity were gone forever. How did he achieve that? Mainly because his films achieved enormous success. Audiences adored his little tramp character. On one hand, it was genuinely hilarious, the foundation of comedy success, where constant gags are essential. Beyond the tramp's inherent humor, Chaplin excelled at using props to create chaos. For example, in his short film The Cure, a scene uses a revolving door and wheelchair for comedic effect. After getting dizzy in a fast-spinning door, the tramp gets flung out and crashes into a wheelchair-bound patient who flies headfirst into a well. This chaotic chain reaction makes you laugh involuntarily. Another key to Chaplin's success was adding emotional depth to comedies. A groundbreaking innovation for silent films then, like his first feature, The Kid. The first half is laugh-filled, while the father-son separation later brings tears. The underdog's poignancy and sincerity make you laugh hysterically one moment and sob the next. After The Kid premiered, praise reached unprecedented levels. Chaplin decided to take a break and visit England, his first return since leaving. A decade later, his homecoming received ecstatic welcomes. One headline declared, "Comedians return rivals Armistice Day celebrations." Other media simply called Chaplin "our son." Undoubtedly, throughout the 1910s, Chaplin became film history's fastest rising star, a true comedy icon. At his peak, with fame and fortune secured, Chaplin's ambitions reached higher. Beyond laughs and emotion, Chaplin sought to critique society amid global turmoil where 2 world wars erupted. Between wars, the U.S. and capitalist world plunged into unprecedented economic crisis. Humanity grappled with war, labor struggles, exploitation, strikes, riots, unemployment. Against this backdrop, Chaplin directed his final silent films, City Lights, Modern Times, and his first talkie, The Great Dictator. By then, Chaplin had co-founded United Artists with stars Mary Pickford, Douglas Fairbanks, and director D.W. Griffith. At United Artists, Chaplin had tremendous creative freedom to film whatever he desired. Chaplin wrote in his book that humor should be a tool. It reveals abnormality in seemingly normal phenomena and unimportance in seemingly important things. Humor keeps us clear-headed and enhances life's meaning. What do these words mean? Let's examine through Modern Times and The Great Dictator. First, spotting abnormality in normalcy. In Modern Times, the tramp Charlot is an assembly line worker whose job is endlessly tightening screws. Overworked, he develops psychosis, seeing everything as screws, even trying to tighten buttons and noses with a wrench. This absurdity communicates powerfully to audiences. In reality, workers were equally crushed by relentless mechanical labor. But amidst capitalism's frenzy, such exploitation felt normal, until humor exposed its absurdity and flaws. Second, revealing unimportance in seemingly important things. After Modern Times, Chaplin planned his first talkie, a romance. But with Nazis advancing, inspiration failed. Chaplin asked, "How can I write romances while monstrous Hitler stirs war fever?" So he spent 2 years writing The Great Dictator, investing $2 million. During filming, Nazi sympathizers sent death threats, vowing to throw eggs and shoot screens. Undeterred, Chaplin exploited Hitler's mustache resemblance to his tramp, playing both roles. As the tramp, he stayed silent. As Hitler, he babbled nonsensically. While Nazi soldiers treated Hitler's speeches as gospel, Chaplin portrayed him as an incoherent clown, exposing the ugliness beneath supposed importance. Thus, Chaplin maintained clarity through humor, using film to critique human alienation in capitalist society and numbness under dictatorship, exposing absurdity in seemingly normal phenomena, and the laughable in supposedly important things. Now, why was Chaplin expelled from America? This traces back to modern times. We mentioned earlier how it critiqued capitalism's flaws. Additionally, the tramp accidentally lifted a red flag in the film, prompting some colonists to comment. The film had communist undertones. Suddenly, Chaplin was labeled a fellow traveler. In the 1950s, America unleashed wave after wave of anti-communist purges. Due to his film's critical themes and perceived communist leanings, Chaplin was on FBI watch lists. Expulsion awaited only an excuse. Under these circumstances, several events became the catalyst for his expulsion. First, Chaplin's speech urging America to open a second front. In it, he called Russians comrades, declaring them America's allies who should fight together. Though applauded, his praise of communists through intensified FBI scrutiny. Second, a scandal involving Joan Barry, a young woman who pursued Chaplin post-speech. After a brief affair, her worsening mental health led to drunken midnight break-ins, forcing their breakup. Months later, Barry reappeared, pregnant, to harass Chaplin, deliberately provoking him to call police. Within hours, headlines screamed, "Chaplin abandons unborn child and has cops arrest its mother." Barry sued, but blood tests post-birth proved Chaplin couldn't be the father. Simultaneously, the FBI fabricated charges of illegally transporting Barry cross-country, creating tween scandals. Chaplin's public image crumbled amid severe moral questioning from society. Chaplin did another shocking thing. He made Monsieur Verdoux, directly targeting the absurdity of wartime slaughter, which sparked outrage among veterans and made an irreversible situation worse. After Monsieur Verdoux released, the American Legion displayed banners like, "Chaplin sympathizes with communists, drive him to Russia," and sent threats to theaters, causing widespread cancellations. Monsieur Verdoux bombed at the box office, and Chaplin's reputation hit rock bottom. Unwilling to pander to audiences and with FBI incitement, the once beloved Chaplin lost public favor. Chaplin's career plunged to its nadir, his fame and influence at their lowest. The U.S. government finally seized its chance to expel him. In 1952, Chaplin sailed to London on the Queen Elizabeth for Limelight's premiere. The morning after he left, the U.S. banned his re-entry, ending his American life since 1913. The land of the free, where he'd lived for 40 years, officially shut its doors. That year, he moved to Switzerland, spending his final years quietly with family. The comedy master's curtain call. Finally, why did this legendary comedy master live in constant tension? Chaplin's anxiety came from audiences, a force demonstrating extraordinary power over him since age 5. Audience approval gave him his first successful stage debut. Audience rejection ended his mother's stage career. In theater troupes, Chaplin met once famous clowns, all forgotten by audiences, many driven to suicide. Thus, Chaplin feared audience rejection since childhood. During his Carno U.S. tour, his first show failed to amuse. Waiting behind the curtain then felt like awaiting execution. At the kids' test screening, he sat nervously until hearing the audience's hysterical laughter, only then relaxing. The same went for City Lights. Just when audience laughter finally eased Chaplin's anxiety, the theater cut to commercials mid-screening. Furious, explosive, Chaplin jumped up, yelling, "I'll kill that son of a bitch! Where's the manager?" When City Lights later premiered successfully with constant laughter, Chaplin wandered NYC streets excitedly for 4 hours. In Limelight, his final U.S. film, he played faded actor Calvero, who dreams of desperately trying to amuse a silent, dark audience. From unknown actor to red-hot star, then expelled from America, slowly fading into obscurity, Chaplin witnessed Hollywood's golden age through its decline. Through changing cinema, politics, and times, one constant remained: his simultaneous craving and dread of audiences. This drove Chaplin to keep pushing, dedicating his finest work to viewers. Take this small example. In City Lights, the tramp crosses through a car during traffic, slamming its door, making the flower girl mistake him for a rich man. This first meeting scene became iconic through flawless comedic logic. But Rush's revealed Chaplin reshot the scene over 300 times to perfect it. And such obsessive examples abound, yet Chaplin's autobiography never mentioned them. Chaplin craved audiences most. He loved them, but never fully trusted them. In Limelight, he spoke through Calero. Individually, every audience member is decent, but together they become a mob. Thus, he refused blind pandering. While valuing box office, he equally pursued comedy's artistic merit. This very integrity made his works timeless classics. First, his enduring comedic genius. Watch Chaplin today, like in The Gold Rush, and you'll still roar with laughter. The tramp boils a leather shoe, eating the laces like spaghetti with relish. In modern times, he mistakes noses and buttons for bolts, wrench at the ready. In the circus, he pretends to play with a child but devours their bread when dad looks away. These silent comedies never lose their brilliance for lacking sound. Even today, Chaplin's films remain among the funniest. Next are his timeless romantic plots. In City Lights, the tramp's love for the blind girl moves hearts. He borrows money from a millionaire for her eye surgery. She initially kept one bill, but when she kissed his hand, he gave her his last dollar too. This adorable romance belongs uniquely to the underdogs. It's everywhere in Chaplin's films. In The Gold Rush, Chaplin performs an exquisite dance with forks and bread rolls, utterly seamless. But Johnny Depp, star of Pirates of the Caribbean, said this seemingly simple act was incredibly difficult. Depp once mimicked this move in one of his films, but it took him a month to grasp the basics. Then there's Chaplin's classic social critique. In modern times, employers invent a feeding machine to shorten lunch breaks, meals automatically delivered to workers' mouths. Self-proclaimed pinnacles of creation, reduced to animals force-fed by machines, humans creating devices that numb and control them. Isn't this still humanity's unresolved dilemma? Meticulous gags, crafted plots, fearless social critique, responsibility to audiences without blind pandering. This legacy is what every true comedian should pursue. All right, that concludes our reading of Chaplin's autobiography. Find keynotes below the audio. See you tomorrow.